Hey, Barb, I've got 4 minutes right now. Why don't you give me some quick ground rules around using copyright-protected content at work?
Nice to see you too, Dave. My weekend was great. Thanks for asking.
Oh, sorry. Should I have said please?
Okay, Dave, 4 minutes. But only because you asked so nicely. The law related to the use of copyright material can seem a bit complicated at first. Generally speaking, copyright means that you need permission from the creator or publisher in order to copy.
Are you saying I'll always need permission to reuse or shared published content?
Actually, while seeking permission is usually the right thing to do, there will also be instances where permission might be pre-granted, copyright may no longer apply, or exceptions may apply.
Like material on the internet. That's all public domain, right?
It's a common misconception that public domain refers to content on the internet. Material enters public domain when the copyright expires, at which point you no longer need permission to use it. In Canada, copyright lasts for the life of the creator plus 50 years. In the US and Europe, it's plus 70 years.
Okay, but stuff on the internet is free to use, right?
What's free for you and I to view online is not necessarily free to download and reuse without permission. There's copyright in most of the content published online, which is often monetized based on advertising. If you download and reuse that material away from its original location, permission may be required unless the right has been expressly granted by the copyright owner.
Would that be what they call open access?
It could be, Dave. Open access is material that's freely accessible online, often with additional usage rights granted under open content licenses like those offered by Creative Commons.
And I can do whatever I want with open access materials.
It's a bit more complicated than that. There are different open content licenses. Where one license might grant permission with only a requirement for attribution, another might exclude commercial uses. And another might allow commercial uses, but require that derivative works be shared under the same license.
Okay, makes sense. Now, what about those copyright exceptions you mentioned? How would I qualify for those?
In Canada, we have a statutory copyright exception known as fair dealing, which is similar to the concept of fair use in U.S. law. The Copyright Act outlines 7 purposes that may qualify as fair dealing. They are research, private study, criticism, review, news reporting, education, and parody or satire.
Okay, so if my purpose matches one of those 7, I can do whatever I want with the material.
Matching an eligible purpose alone doesn't get you a free-for-all. That's just the first part of a 2-step test.
2 steps?
Yep. The use also has to be fair. And the Supreme Court of Canada has provided 6 factors with which to assess fairness.
And let me guess, you're about to list off the 6 factors.
You got it. Fairness should be judged based on 1, the purpose of the dealing, 2, the character of the dealing, 3, the amount of the dealing, 4, the alternatives to the dealing, 5, the nature of the work used, and 6, the effect of the dealing on the work.
7 purposes and 6 factors. Do I really need to know all of that?
I'd recommend it if you plan to rely on the exception in a commercial setting. The burden of proof with fair dealing lies with the content user, so you should be able to assess and demonstrate the fairness of what you want to do before you copy.
Okay, so basically, I'd be wise to read license conditions and website terms of use before reusing copyright-protected content, and to seek permission whenever necessary.
Dave, you're a quick study, which is good because your 4 minutes are up, and I believe you had somewhere else to be.